Today is St. Patrick's Day, and all over the world people are celebrating being Irish. What a great thing. But St. Patrick himself wasn't Irish, of course, although he gave his heart to the people of Ireland. He was a Celt from across the water, from Roman Britain, and he was taken as a teenager to Ireland and sold as a slave. And as a slave he had an encounter with God, which meant that he would escape and then later return to Ireland as a missionary with the gospel of Christ. It was the first Easter, and he and his followers wanted to light the Easter fire to celebrate the resurrection, the light of Christ. But there was a tradition in the land that no one was allowed to kindle a fire until the fire was lit on the hearth of the High King at Tara. I think it might have been something to do with the celebration of Ostara, the spring equinox. The penalty for lighting a fire was death. But did that stop Patrick? No, it didn't. He and his followers lit the fire on the hill of Slane, where they were, above the Boyne Valley. And it was seen by the High King at Tara, just 9 miles away. And he is furious. And the way I've received the story, he sends his warriors with orders that they should kill Patrick and his followers and put out the fire. But when the warriors return, they've not killed or captured anybody, and they've not put the fire out. Apparently, some of the Druids had a prophecy that if this fire was not put out, then it would burn until eternity, the light of Christ. But they hadn't put it out. They hadn't killed anybody. They return simply with the promise of Patrick that he himself would come to Tara the next day and he would answer for his misdemeanours. What was it that protected Patrick? It seems like a bit of a miracle, really. But if you know the story of St. Patrick, for more than 20 years, he has believed that God was going to send him to Ireland. Even when the church was saying to him, "We are not sending you to Ireland." And it was at the last minute that God intervened, and suddenly Patrick finds himself on Irish soil with an incredible feeling that he was God's person in the right place at the right time. And whenever anybody encounters Patrick, they seem to be impressed, not just that he seems fearless, but that they intuitively get the same feeling that he should be here, that he has been sent to us. And certainly everyone who encounters Patrick is very reluctant to harm him, but rather they seem, keen to listen. Intuitively, they want to welcome him. But it's not just that Patrick has this belief that he is there with God's blessing and God's presence around him. He also believes in the power and the protection of prayer. The rune of St. Patrick is a recording of the words of the prayer Patrick used on that Easter morning when he knew that he had to go to Tara and stand trial, and he knew that he was already under the sentence of death, and he knew that there in the court of King Airey, the High King, there were people who dearly would have liked to see that sentence carried out. And this is what he prays. At Tara today, at this fateful hour, I place all heaven with its power, and the sun with its brightness, and the snow with its whiteness, and fire with all the strength it hath, and lightning with its rapid wrath, and the winds with their swiftness along the path, and the sea with its deepness, and the rocks with its steepness, and the earth with its darkness. All these I place, by God's almighty help and grace, between myself and the powers of darkness. Great words. And we see here an echo of the wonderful hymn, the breastplate of St. Patrick, the cry of the deer. But we also see very clearly the Irish Christian tradition that the holy creator God and God's holy creation are totally interwoven. But does the prayer work? Well, that's another story, and maybe I'll get to tell you that as well. But for now, happy St. Patrick's Day, and God bless.